Woody Womack joined by Mike Farrell for our weekly podcast. How you doing, Mike?
Good, doing great.
Oh, so much going on. What a drama-filled weekend, right? On and off the field.
Yeah, Saturday morning was a big surprise to me. I know where you're leading to, and that's the biggest subject I think in college football right now is Clemson, Florida State. That was just dramatic.
Yeah, let's talk about it. The game got canceled when? 9 a.m., 3 hours
It was like
before.
9:30. I was just scrolling through Twitter, you know, and it was like 9:30, and then Warchant broke it. Warchant.com, our Florida State site. That I think they were the first ones that had it. That said the game was canceled, and then everybody else picked it up, and then it turned into why. And I asked a few questions of some kids that I used to know, through high school that are currently on rosters for both schools, and you get two different stories. But to me, I mean, and listen, this is the way it is. It reeks of let's not get blown out on national television.
Well, right, but they're trying to reschedule it, right? Why would what's the?
I don't know if they will. I mean, 12-12 is that open date. Now Dabo's saying we're not coming back. Um, you travel to us and blah blah blah. I don't think it's going to be played, but even some Florida State diehard Florida State fans that I've known for years and years and years said that this was, why go out on national television and give Dabo a chance to blow us out by 60 points if you have an excuse. Now, again, I read the back and forth, why travel with a symptomatic COVID kid who's not even on your starting team? And,
But
but then I hear he tested negative 3 times. And, I don't know what's true or not. I just know based on the conversations that I had Saturday morning with some people that one team was ready to play and the other one was looking for a way out.
So, Dabo's taking heat as usual in the national media. My issue is, can we get a clear story of what happened? Why do the relative media members need to play Homer for the team? Like, can you just tell me what happened? Like, how hard would it be to say this is what happened? Can we get a fact-based story on what happened?
No, no, because the mainstream media is turned into either pro uh, not I don't even know what to say. It's political.
Okay, well, but
It's
what I'm saying is, okay, Mike Norvell's giving his press conference today saying
yeah,
we wanted to play, blah blah
right.
blah. Your doctor said no. Okay, so that's fine. If you want to make it a safety issue, that's fine. But then Dabo's saying they wanted to play. Then it's, oh, there's a symptomatic player. Then Clemson says there's not. It's like, where is the ACC on this? Like,
Well, they're the ones who set the guidelines and perimeters that are so vague that this could happen. And again, this wasn't something that people I think thought of or foresaw when they decided to have a season. That there would be one team with such a unbelievable talent disadvantage, perhaps using the pandemic to their advantage. And again, I don't know if that's true or not. 10,000 feet above, right? I'm in my little helicopter. I'm looking down at college football. I see Clemson, Florida State canceled because they couldn't agree on playing. Clemson wants to play, Florida State clearly doesn't. That's what I see. I don't know the truth. Clemson kids will say one thing, Florida State kids will say another. But when Trevor Lawrence comes out and he's we knew him, pretty honest kid, right? When he comes out with a statement that says we were ready to play, they're ready to play. Um, I don't understand the defending, or attacking Dabo. It's all turned into politics. Well, the safety of these young men is more important than a football game. Well, of course it is. But to me, this, like Mike Leach traveled to Georgia with what, 49 scholarship players?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So listen, I think Florida State didn't want to play.
So your prediction is the game doesn't happen then?
No, no. My prediction is absolutely no way that game happens.
All right, so let's talk about Florida State here because I'm starting to take this game out of the picture, which they would have gotten blown out. We've seen a mass exodus of players essentially, which always happens with the coaching change and the pandemic maybe factors in as well. But I looked at an article that Michael Langston from our Florida State site, War Chant, wrote, and it was like their top 10 remaining targets. And I was like, who are these guys? We're talking like some three-star defensive end from Michigan. And I'm like, why aren't you recruiting players in Florida? So what's going on? Like, I'm, I'm not ready to bail on Norvell, but I just don't. I feel like they have no momentum. Usually, you hire a new coach, you get a huge bump, you get a bunch of kids saying, "I love the Knowles," and there's a ton of kids who grow up in Florida loving them. So, what's going on? I mean, are you worried? Are you concerned? Because I just don't feel like things are trending in the right direction right now.
No, they're not. And this was a perfect storm. Okay, this is a head football coach in Jimbo Fisher that just had his foot out the door and knew it, so didn't really recruit hard. This was a bad hire of Willie Taggart, a guy with a losing record that they felt would recruit well and turn the program around. And he went 2 years without recruiting a quarterback, which is the biggest sin in college football recruiting, period. It's the first one. Then you get a new coach in there and COVID hits. So that new coach can't hit the road in the spring and junior days are limited and shut down. And it's just a perfect storm of awfulness. And Florida State is in a really, really bad place. I mean, you see the gifs of dumpster fires all over the place, and that's what they are right now. It won't last forever, but I don't know what the solution is. But this started, if you remember, a few years ago. We used to cover the Florida State elite camps,
Right.
and the kids were becoming less and less elite.
Yes.
And that was right near the beginning of Taggart and to Jimbo. So this has been in the works for a while. And now, instead of covering 5 and 4 stars, coming to visit or down the stretch, and instead of battling for the Eddie Goldmans or trying to flip the Minka Fitzpatricks, they're trying to get kids interested, period. And that's a big problem. So this program's in big trouble. It's going to take a little while to dig out, but I'm not burying them yet completely. I mean, they're Florida State. They're in the state of Florida. They'll be fine eventually. It's just, this is really ugly. And I think this is the ugliest. This has got to be rock bottom. Losing 66-3 or whatever I had predicted wouldn't have been rock bottom. Not playing this game is rock bottom to me.
Yeah, I think that staff needs some people with ties to Florida. I mean, I just can't believe we're down the stretch and we're fighting Nebraska for a 5-6 3-star from Michigan. I mean, what's going on? Like, it just doesn't. I mean, maybe who knows? But I mean, as they might get a transfer from Utah State. It's like,
well, by the time this comes out, I'm writing my 3-point stance for tomorrow, and I'm writing about 5 programs that should lower their expectations. Period. I mean, it's time. Nebraska being one of them, Michigan being another one, Tennessee being another one. And I've got 5 programs that should absolutely not. And Florida State's one of them. So this is unacceptable. You're a Power 5 program. You're one of the big 3 in Florida with the most fertile recruiting ground on earth. This is unacceptable. If it continues, somebody will have to come in and right the ship, and that's the way it is. But Florida State fans should be pretty upset because this has gone from, 2014 national championship to 2020 embarrassment. I mean, this is embarrassing in every way, shape, and form. And I've never seen, at the end of the Bobby Bowden reign, when he started hiring all his old buddies as coaches and their defense was horrendous, and Chuck Amato was a defensive coordinator or something, and they stunk. They still stunk.
Yeah, they stunk at 8-4.
Yeah, 7-5, 8-4. Yeah, they'd lose to a BC, but they'd beat a Louisville. But now they have no chance of beating anybody. They're just awful. So this is it. This is rock bottom, and there's only one way up.
All right. Ohio State had a pretty close call with Indiana. Indiana actually had the ball two different times with a chance to score in the fourth quarter. They looked really good. And I heard some people, oh, the game was never in doubt. I never thought Ohio State was going to lose. It's like, it was a pretty close call. And I don't know if they can really afford to have those. I mean, what did you take away from that game and kind of how it's going to impact them?
Well, at first, do you remember in the first quarter? I mean, it was scary for Indiana because, Ohio State went down the field and scored so easily. And then they got a turnover, and it's like, uh-oh, this could get really ugly really fast because Indiana doesn't really know how to deal with this. But these are the fighting Tom Allens, and they fought and they fought and they scratched and they clawed. That secondary for Ohio State is bad. It's bad. Short of the Sean Wade pick six, which was a horrible offensive call. I mean, I don't know why you would ever in college football have a lefty quarterback throw from the left hash all the way across the field for a 5-yard or 7-yard out. I mean, that you might as well just hand it off to the defensive lineman and let him run in for a touchdown. It's just a horrible call. But other than that, they were getting gashed. I mean, Ty Freifogel, 218 yards, 3 TDs, looked like Julio Jones. And Indiana really showed a lot to me as far as character and fight. And this Ohio State team has some weaknesses we didn't know they had. And I'm not talking about Justin Fields. He had a bad game. He made a couple bad decisions for sure. But this defensive secondary in this day of offensive football would scare the living daylights out of me.
Yeah. I mean, nobody really has a dominant defense this year, at least from the really good teams. But like you said, I mean, Penix had like 500 yards passing,
Yeah, 491, 5 touchdowns. He looked like Steve Young out there. And, we talk to kids and players from all sorts of schools that we covered, and they're off in college. And I don't really stay in touch with them, but, they're still following you on Twitter and they DM you here and there. And I had a few kids in my DMs. I won't name what schools they were from, but they were like, we cannot wait to play Ohio State. They were so unimpressed with that secondary that they were just chomping at the bit to put up big points. So, whoever wins the national championship this year is going to do it on offense. And, Ohio State's going to have to score 50 to win. I think that's the way it looks.
All right. Another rough game for Nebraska, Scott Frost. And a friend of the show, Dave Lackford, brought up to me, at what point do we start the hot seat talk with Frost? I mean, and this was one of the worst losses he's had. They were a 17-point favorite. They essentially got blown out. They don't have a quarterback still. I mean, McCaffrey's fun to watch run around or whatever, but he's not a quarterback. I mean, he should move positions immediately.
26 carries.
Right. Put him at receiver. Put Martinez at quarterback, and at least you got two of your best athletes on the field at the same time. But
it looks like old Nebraska, quarterback carrying 26 times. It's just that worked 20 years ago. Doesn't work now.
So what do you think? Does he?
No hot seat.
No, never.
No. Well, not never. I mean, eventually you have to. But first of all, you spent a tremendous amount of time and effort and money and to lure this individual away from big programs that were interested, Florida being one of them. You brought him back to your alma mater. He's a playing legend. And, this is something that Nebraska has to understand is that who are they going to get that's better?
Right. I mean, we're in year 3 here. You got to, take them begging to play out of it. You can't lose games like this by 20 points in year 3 to Illinois, who's not very good. I mean, I don't think they should fire him, but they've got to bring in some talent. They got to hit the transfer market. They've wasted, how many spots have they? I wish we could do a story. How many wasted scholarships have they done chasing these fringe 4-star dudes from Florida who don't even end up playing there?
Yeah, it was worse under Riley.
Going to California and
with the Cal-Nebraska movement and stuff. They have to do what Wisconsin does. Wisconsin has no home recruiting territory except for maybe 5 to 7 good kids every year. Nebraska has less than that, but similar. They have to know who they are. They have to come up with one system that fits their playing style, offensively and defensively. Target kids that are in the 3-star range, every once in a while a 4-star, and get them there and establish yourself as position you for something. Offensive linemen want to go to Wisconsin. Nolan Rucci went to Wisconsin over Penn State. His dad played at Penn State, his brother's at Wisconsin. But they're O-line U, Wisconsin. And they have that mentality of, we're going to pound it, we're going to run it, our offensive linemen are 330, blah, blah, blah. Nebraska doesn't have any of that on offense or defense, and I'm not really sure how they're going to create that. It's an embarrassing loss. Illinois, the official athletic Twitter trolled them. Did you see that?
What did they do?
They deleted the tweet, but they're like, thanks for bringing football back to the Big Ten, Nebraska.
Yes. Why did they delete it?
I don't know. It was already got like 600 retweets or something. And then here's why they deleted it. You know this more than anybody. Some, chucklehead in the Illinois buttoned up athletic department who has nothing to do with football or doesn't know what a football looks like and has never been outside and played, saw that and said that's inappropriate, delete it. That's it. That's what happened.
Yeah, show some class. Yeah, but yeah, I guess I can relate.
Yeah, you can, because it's annoying. I mean, it was fun. I liked Fitzgerald at Northwestern throwing shade back at Joey Galloway and Reese Davison. It's just fun. But for Nebraska, okay, let's reel it in. You had Pelini. He was a jerk, but he won 9 games every year. That's where you should be at. Every once in a while, win 10, win your division, go get blasted by Ohio State in the title game, and be happy. The national championship days are over. Recruiting has changed. It's been 25 years. Recruiting is light years different than it was back in the day of Nebraska winning national championships, as are offenses, as are rules. I mean, there's so many things that have changed since they were a power program that they are at such a disadvantage that they should have the same expectations of a team that has no home state recruiting advantage and has to win on the road in recruiting every year. And that's 8-9 wins. That's it.
Well, here's what I don't get. Okay. Scott Frost gets a lot of credit for Marcus Mariota, right? He gets credit for bringing Mackenzie Milton from Hawaii, who Oregon wouldn't take. He got the job, immediately went and got him. Now, his next quarterback was the guy behind Mackenzie Milton was Dylan Gabriel, who's now at UCF, throwing for 1 billion yards. Right. Guess what high school Jaden DeLaura went to?
I don't know. Somewhere in Hawaii?
Yeah, the same one as Marcus Mariota and the same one as Tua, who Frost also recruited. If only someone would have told them about Jaden DeLaura, they would have a quarterback. What are you doing? Go to Hawaii, where you had your most success. You built your entire career off of 2 quarterbacks. You have a 4-star quarterback from the same one who was dying for anyone to give him a scholarship. What's going on? Like, I just don't get it, Mike. Okay, now they've got a guy committed from in-state. Maybe he's the answer, but you're Scott Frost. You should be able to sell. I've developed a Heisman Trophy winner, a 2-time Heisman Trophy top 10 finisher in Milton. And we're sticking. It's almost like Tennessee with Garantano. Oh, we still got Adrian Martinez and one of the McCaffreys. Like, I just don't.
Yeah,
that's where the frustration comes in for me. And I think if you're a Nebraska fan, you got to feel that way.
Well, I also think that, there's a blessing and a curse to the amazing fan base that is Nebraska, right? It's the most rabid fan base in the country. And anybody who says differently is incorrect. I've been doing this for a very long time. I know what rabid is, and they are very rabid. But that's good and that's bad. Adrian Martinez, had he gone to Cal, would be a very, very solid quarterback, putting up solid numbers, winning 6 games a year. Sometimes the pressure and the crushing expectations can destroy not only a player, but a program. And I just think that's where Nebraska's at, because I don't have another answer. That doesn't mean, why didn't they recruit Delora? I don't have an explanation for that. But I do have an explanation for why this team's continuing to struggle, even with a very good head coach who did wonders at UCF and was very good at Oregon. It's the expectations. If you're not great, you're not good. If you're not good, you're bad. And it just goes down from there. So that's my latest guess. I've been guessing about Nebraska for a very long time, but that's my latest guess.
Yeah, I just don't see the offense. Like at year 3, the expectation would be, even if they were like he was his first year at UCF, where they're scoring a lot of points, but they're giving up a ton, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, he's an offensive guy. They'll get the defense together. The offense is not good.
Oh,
So
it's horrible. But the defense is really, really bad. I mean, Illinois scored 28 points in the first half, and the Huskers were wearing the black shirts, and that's obviously a tradition, and there were so many fans saying, listen, you get change out of those black shirts at halftime, you're an embarrassment. And they were. I mean, to give up 41 points to Illinois, who's just not a good football team, to score 23 against Illinois, which gave up 45 to Wisconsin and 41 to Minnesota. I don't have an explanation, and I don't think anybody does. And I don't have a solution. I'm a problem identifier. I'm not a problem solver.
yeah, I believe me, I know. So I want to talk about this. They gave him an extension before the year.
Yeah.
And a raise. Same with Tennessee and Jeremy Pruitt. And a lot of times you hear people, especially in the national college football media, be like, well, they need to do it for recruiting. Recruits have no idea. Oh, Jeremy Pruitt's contract's up in 2023. Oh, we bet if he doesn't get an extension, I'm not going there. What are these schools thinking? Like, what can you debunk the myth with me that it doesn't matter for recruiting?
It doesn't. It makes no difference. It's 20 years ago thinking. When I first got into this industry, it was very important for a head coach to walk into a living room to close out a kid with a 4-year deal in place. And it was unheard of for him not to have that, right? So that was important back then, 25 years ago, 20 years ago. Now, all of these kids, every one of them, even the low 3s, the 2s, whatever, although there are no 2s other than rivals anymore, apparently. They all think they're 3-and-out guys. Right. So they don't give a crap whether you get a 4-year deal or a 5-year extension, or you're going to be there till 2028. They don't care. Plus, they see these guys who have these long-term deals, like Willie Taggart, get fired after 2 years anyways, or Charlie Strong get fired after 3 years, or whoever, and they just get bought out. So the contract means nothing. It's idiotic. And you can absolutely walk into a living room in December. You can't now with COVID, and do a home visit with less than 4 years on your contract. But 25 years ago, it was unheard of. And the college football landscape in many ways has not changed at all from that thinking. And it puzzles me to no end, because these are $1 million decisions being made by people who clearly are making horrible decisions.
Well, like, okay, I get it. Okay, Mike Gundy or whoever. Somebody comes and offers them the job, they get an extension. Nobody was trying to hire Scott Frost, and nobody's trying to hire Jeremy Pruitt. Like, I'm sorry. Tennessee won 6 games to close the year. Okay. So what team was going to come hire him? He didn't need an extension. And then now we have the story, the coaches at Tennessee aren't taking pay cuts, but Pruitt did. Well, he sort of did, because he's not taking his raise right away. And it's like, why did he get a raise? He lost to Georgia State. Like, what did Frost do to get a multi-year extension? To me, it's malpractice. And then we complain about the budgets, and they don't want to pay players. It's like you're throwing money down the drain.
It's honestly, it's a PR move. It's to keep the PR people busy so they could do a press release. It's to make the people making these decisions, whether it's the president or the athletic director or a combination of the two, think they look smart. getting ahead of things, bringing positive news to their community and to their football program. And it's so stupid, but fans don't care. They don't really care that Florida State had to pay what, $20 million to get rid of Willie Taggart.
Yeah.
It's not their money. They don't care. But that program, as we're learning, is in a slight bit of financial stress right now.
Right.
Because of something like that. So I can't figure it out. I wish that was the way it worked at Rivals.
Yeah, me too. I wish I could be like, hey, Woody, you're doing a great job. We're going to give you a 3-year extension tomorrow.
It used to be that way. Long, long ago when we were a small company, it used to be that way. And some people took advantage of it. Some people didn't, and by take advantage, I mean, just like, oh, I'm going to mail it in now. But it's not that way in the real world. It's not that way up the road here in Connecticut at Etna or the Travelers. It's not that way any place but college football. And, for Will Muschamp to be, cashing a check at his bank for $13 million after being a colossal failure at South Carolina makes no sense to me whatsoever. So again, I don't have an explanation for why Nebraska is horrible. I don't have an explanation for why these extensions occur. I'm bringing absolutely no problem-solving skills to the table here because stupidity. That's all I got.
It's just frustrating to me to hear people parrot, well, they had to do it for recruiting. No, they didn't.
No.
I promise you, I go ask every single Tennessee commit, when's Jeremy Pruitt's contract up? They'd be like, sir, I have no idea. They don't.
Biggest joke ever. But again, when I started, that was a big thing. It was when a coach, like I can't even remember the coach's name. He was at North Carolina. He was from New Jersey. He stunk. What was his name?
It came after Mac Brown.
He was before Butch. John Bunting? Does that sound familiar?
Maybe.
Okay. I think he walked into a living room with a 3-year deal once, and it kind of hurt them in recruiting. I think the same thing happened at Kentucky with I can't remember that coach's name either.
Rich Brooks.
No, it was before the famous Duck. But it was a big deal back then. It was like a big deal. It really was. We wrote about it and talked about it, and kids talked about it, and schools pointed it out. But it's 2020 now. Nobody cares.
Right.
It's the stupidest thing ever, and it has zero to do with recruiting whatsoever. Zero. There's really a simple solution to recruiting. It's very, very easy. Put kids in the NFL and win.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what else you do. You're going to get good kids. And that's why parity in college football is it's non-existent. That's why we're going to see, Alabama and Clemson or both in the national title game again, or if they're not in there, it's going to be Ohio State. And that's why at the top of the recruiting rankings, you see these same schools over and over. And that's not going to change either.
All right. Speaking of the top of the recruiting rankings, JT Daniels, former 5-star, finally gets into the scrappy fourth stringer, made his way into the lineup and throws for 400 yards against a not very good Mississippi State team in a game that Georgia almost lost, to be honest with you. And then we saw a lot of quotes after the game. Well, this is what we've been seeing in practice. And did you see those quotes from players that kind of made it seem like we were expecting this? And then he said, I was cleared after the first game. I don't know why I wasn't playing. What's your read, Mike, on the whole situation?
Yeah, originally there was talk that he, wasn't cleared, even though he was reported as cleared. I think it was for the Arkansas game, which was the opener, at the very least for the Auburn game. But then, everybody I talked to close to the Georgia program said, well, they don't feel comfortable because he can't really move that well. He doesn't have the ability to escape, and we're gonna let him get better. So then, after they started losing, Alabama was an expected loss, but they still lost by 17. Florida. Then I'm like, okay, this kid's really hurt. We're not gonna see him again this year. They're saving him for next season. And then he comes out finally after an off week because of the postponed game against Missouri and puts up these numbers and throws the ball, get this, downfield with a spiral. And now everybody's wondering, why the heck did this kid play from day one? So essentially what I think and again, I don't know. I think the reliance upon the defense and the running game was where they were at, and they thought they could get through this season with that, which is crazy because Dwan Mathis is just never been good. I've never really felt he was a very talented quarterback, but that, listen, we had him as a 4-star. It's hindsight. Stetson Bennett is not good. JT Daniels is good. So, Georgia kind of threw this season away, but they got their quarterback of the future. So I guess that's good news.
Well, and I think, did you guys end up doing that fact or fiction idea I sent over?
I'm sure we did. Which one was it?
It was does this make Kirby Smart look good or bad? I mean,
did we? I think we did. I said it made him look bad. I forget what Gorney said. Gorney's always wrong in fact or fiction.
I'm just wondering, like, I don't have a problem with, especially after Bennett played well the first couple games, but there was a point there. I'm trying to remember which game. It might have even been the Tennessee game when they were losing in the first half. And I remember I texting Gorney during the game, and I was like, this is coming to an end here. You have a limited ceiling with Stetson Bennett. You got to get Daniels out there, and I think Georgia fans felt the same way. And now, like you said, I don't think they would have beaten Florida if he played, but you got to be kicking yourself in retrospect, being like, man, like, and this was a game when they couldn't even run the ball at all, and he still had 400 yards passing.
Yeah, against a very gritty Mississippi State team, Mike Leach has to be proud of the effort there. I mean, going into a game with 49 scholarship players is just, that's Penn State circa Bill O'Brien. It's crazy, and it's so hard to do. But they couldn't run the ball. Daniels bailed them out. Tremaine Burton's awesome, better than we thought. They have a passing attack now, but there's 2 games left, and they're out of it. So, yeah, they kind of sabotaged the season. Would they have beaten Alabama? I don't know. Or Florida? I don't know. But I know they would have had a much better chance of doing so. So, listen, the easiest thing in the world is to sit here and second guess. It's what everybody does to us.
Right.
J.J. Watt was a 2-star. What are you, idiot? Well, yeah, maybe I am. But I don't know the inner workings of Georgia. So, again, I'm going to say 10,000-foot view, this looks stupid. But as you get closer to the surface, maybe there's something there that we didn't know about. I personally, as a head coach, would have kind of been transparent about it.
Right. I think that would have helped. That would help the matter if he would have said, look, we don't, he's cleared physically to take contact. We don't think he's healthy enough to put out there on the field right now.
Well, the funniest part about head coaches, and some of them are great and some of them aren't, but most of them have the same personality traits once they reach a high level, is they have such a disdain for the media and, the mouth breathers like us that sit there with our little recorders.
Right.
That oftentimes they become very defiant, passive aggressive, stubborn, and they do things like Muschamp for South Carolina. Near the end of before he got fired, he stopped releasing injury reports. Just because someone questioned his, integrity on an injury report about some player or something. Like, they're just shooting themselves in the foot when they do that. So Kirby here again could have been honest, could have been upfront and said, "Listen, this is the case. He's cleared medically. Medically, to a fan, it means he could play and he should be in there for every snap. Medically is different to actual medical people, right? So explain the difference and tell us what's going on, and maybe you don't have this problem. Like, yeah, he was medically cleared, but, and then you're better off. But you know what? They get millions of dollars and second guessing and Monday quarterbacking. It's what we do. So, and we don't get millions of dollars. So I really don't feel bad at all.
Yeah, we'll see how he looks against another year, a couple other games here. I want to see how he looks.
Yeah, see, South Carolina and Vanderbilt. You might as well put him out there in 7-on-7.
Yeah, I guess I would expect big numbers in those games as well. Speaking of South Carolina, coaching search is ongoing. From my perspective, it seems to be that Shane Beamer is emerging as the front runner for that job. You mentioned, is it possible Virginia Tech maybe says, okay, we're not going to let Frank Beamer's son go coach at South Carolina. Um, First, let's talk about the Gamecocks. Do you think he would be a fit, or do you think you mentioned Nebraska trying to go opposite? This is complete opposite of Will Muschamp. We're going with an offensive guy here. Do you think he would be a good fit?
Um, no. But here's the thing with Shane Beamer, okay? Like, very good assistant coach, and obviously when you get into a situation where you become the offensive guy and right hand man to Lincoln Riley, and numbers are being put up like crazy, and you happen to be the son of a coaching legend, you're going to get more attention than perhaps you deserve. Um, and he's in a great position right now because everybody in Blacksburg is unhappy with Fuente because he can't recruit. His team's underachieving. Again, this was the 2016 ACC Coach of the Year, and here is 2020, and people want him gone. And Shane Beamer has that last name that everybody in Blacksburg wants. They don't care about his credentials. They don't care that he was a GA at Tennessee, and he was under Spurrier at South Carolina for a while, and was a solid recruiter, but they didn't break any records, and that he's obviously now at Oklahoma where offense is kind of in vogue. They don't care. He's the name. So I think he would be better off at Virginia Tech. I think they would support him more there. South Carolina, I don't think that would be a good fit. I don't think he would be the guy. I would take Billy Napier, who really sort of has a little bit of a grudge back in his, back in the state of South Carolina from Dabo sending him off. Or take your Hugh Freeze and try to do the retread thing again. But I don't think Beamer is the guy to turn around South Carolina if they hire him.
Yeah, he did work there for a while. I think under Spurrier. He was there from 07 to 2010, mostly working on defense. And it's
He
kind
can
of
work
in a tight.
offensive defense too. That's what's great about him. I mean, he can work. He's worked with linebackers and special teams and tight ends and quarterbacks. He can work with anybody. That's the one good thing. But remember, he has no head coaching experience either, Woody.
Well, it's true.
That's a problem. I mean, Sam Pittman is making it look like it's not a problem, but overall in the real world, it's a problem.
Okay, so mark that down. If now I kind of want them to hire him so you can come out and rip the hire, which would
Well, yeah. Well, I ripped the Muschamp hire, but nobody remembers that.
I guess we'll have to go back to the archives on that one. All right, Mike, the college football playoff rankings, the first ones will be released on Tuesday night. So let's get your playoff rankings in order. Who you got?
Well, obviously Alabama. It's the big three of I don't know whether I have Notre Dame or Ohio State ahead. I would probably put Ohio State 2, Notre Dame 3, and then I still have Clemson at 4. I know in the AP, Oregon's down to 9. Or not down. I mean, they're up to 9. They played 3 games. They haven't beaten anybody yet, but they're the Pac-12 team. I don't have a Big 12 team having any opportunity whatsoever to do this and to get into the playoff. So then it comes down to the group of 5 teams: Cincinnati, BYU. I don't believe in either of them. As far as playoff caliber teams, I love what Luke Fickell's done at Cincinnati, and they continue to churn out wins. And BYU's played nobody, and I don't really care. So that's what I got. I mean, it's very small. So then you got A&M ahead of Florida because A&M beat Florida. So then what do? Really, it's going to come down to, does Clemson beat Notre Dame? And does Florida give Alabama a game? Right?
Right. Yes. Well, if Florida beats Alabama, they're in, right?
Yes. And Alabama's in too.
Right. I'm sort of wondering, like, okay, what has Ohio State done to be ranked ahead of Notre Dame? I mean, so them being 4-0 and Oregon being 3-0, what's the big difference?
They're Ohio State. They've been in the playoff many times. I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's kind of a built-in. I mean, preseason ranking. I mean, look at Penn State. They were preseason 6.
Right. I'm just saying, I can't imagine Ohio State's going to be ranked ahead of Notre Dame when the actual.
No, but I think on the field, Ohio State would beat Notre Dame.
Okay.
So that's why I'm flip flopping and I don't know which is which and I don't care because right now I think this comes down to Alabama and everybody else. And if Clemson can get in there, they're the only team that has a chance to beat Alabama. That's my guess.
So I think you have those four teams, and I think, like you said, I think Texas A&M and Florida are 5 and 6. I don't, I watched Cincinnati beat UCF. They won by 3. They probably should have won by 10. They tried to get cute at the end and run out the clock, and they almost blew the game, which was crazy. Uh, but and especially with BYU, allegedly ducking Washington, those teams aren't getting in under any scenario. Like, say what you want. Oh well, look, I watched UCF win like 30 games in a row. They didn't
Yeah.
even get close. They would win games and move down in the rankings. And what you're going to see is when these rankings come out, Cincinnati's going to be like 10th, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be 7. They're ranked 7.
No, they'll be behind Miami. Is my guess. They'll be behind Oregon.
Indiana,
probably behind Northwestern.
Northwestern and Indiana. So that gets you to 10 right there. But with
Yeah. And then BYU will also be behind a lot of those teams as well. Because again, you got to beat real teams. I'm sorry. That's just life. And I would rather have a one-loss Power 5 team like Florida that lost to A&M or A&M that lost to Alabama much more than I'd like to see a team like Cincinnati or BYU, running the table.
I don't.
BYU won a national title one year.
I know you still hate that.
Well, it bothers me because that was the year BC was number 3 in the country, and they had the Hail Mary and the Miracle in Miami and Doug Flutie, and they beat nobody. And my man Trevor Maddich at ESPN and I used to always argue about that. It's like he was on that team. I'm like, well, you guys don't deserve your national championship because you beat nobody.
Well, if we would have had a playoff, we would. If they would have won a playoff that year,
they would have got killed.
Right, but I'm just saying. I mean, they would have probably been in it.
I just don't want to see that happen again.
I don't have an issue with a group of 5 team making the playoff, especially in a year where these teams have multiple losses. But in a year like this, it's just not. It's just it's not going to. Like I said, UCF won 25, 28, however many games it was in a row. They beat Auburn. Then they came back the next year, went undefeated, and then they lost to Joe Burrow and LSU by 8 points. And they were never seriously considered for the playoffs. So it's not going to happen. I'm so
right.
Like,
I will tell you this: Group of 5, I would like to have in if we go to 8.
I agree. I'm not saying I hate you, Cincinnati and BYU. I'm just saying wrap your head around it's not happening. So get that into your,
But what makes March Madness so great is that there's so many teams involved and you have major upsets. And that's the thing. If you go to 8, you're going to have a Cincinnati or a UCF or a BYU or somebody in there who's going to get to play a Notre Dame or an Alabama and maybe show for real that they belong in a quarterfinal game.
I'd even be happy with 6 where the 2 teams get buys or something like that. I mean,
yeah, that'd be fine too, because then you'd be talking about Cincinnati versus Ohio State. And if they're good, they beat Ohio State and they deserve to move on. I mean, but I just don't like having it down to 4 and then taking the team with absolutely no quality wins over a team that plays especially this year in a full Power 5 conference schedule.
Right. In a year where Cincinnati played Army, they didn't play a Big Ten team like they might have in a normal year. So, all right, moving on. Heisman watch. Really kind of a disappointing week. I mean, I know Trask put up some good numbers, but I mean, he was in the game throwing with 9 minutes left against Vanderbilt. Like, what? That should have been have 4 touchdowns in the first half and be on our way. Like, and Mac threw a bad interception. I mean, nobody really blew the door. Justin Fields had a couple. So where do you stand, Mike?
I got Trask still number 1. I moved him to number 1 last week. I got Mac number 2. I've got Fields down to 3. And I think, that's pretty much it. I mean, Trevor now no thanks to Florida State, doesn't have the body of work to be considered a top 3 Heisman candidate. None of the running backs have really done enough. Etienne's had a couple key fumbles. Najee Harris is doing well, but Mac is going to get the votes there. I don't know. I mean, who else? Why would you even throw another person in there? Who would you throw in?
You're, I really don't have anybody.
Down to 3. I'm down to 3. And again, I agree with you on Trask and Vanderbilt. Because I took the over. No, I didn't.
I
took Florida. I took Florida.
Yeah, I had Florida in the first half. I had Florida.
Yeah.
Florida this, Florida that, and it came out ugly,
horrible. And everybody who picked them always say, "Oh, this is how we always play against Vanderbilt." Well, I don't know. I don't watch Florida Vanderbilt games. They're always, nobody cares.
Right.
So I don't know the history. Oh, I guess you don't watch Florida that much. No, not against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, try to avoid Vanderbilt at all costs.
Somebody tell me that this was going to happen, and I wouldn't have picked Florida. But he still put up 3 touchdowns, so he's the leader.
Right, but I mean, like I said, and the fans got on me this week, and I probably would have him number 1. Mac didn't blow me away in that game, even though he didn't need to. It was 60-3.
Well, that was that game, the Alabama-Kentucky game. Had I known what we taped Thursday night, I think.
Yeah.
Had I known what I knew Saturday morning, that would have been my lock of the week. And they were laying 31?
Whatever it was, I took Alabama across the board. First half points, first half over, first half this, game that. I mean, they covered the over by themselves, I think.
Kentucky was missing 3 key guys at every defensive position. I mean, it was just that one I didn't even have to check the score on, whereas I'm refreshing or watching or flipping to Vanderbilt, Florida all the time to see if that covers. But, Alabama didn't need to do much. And you're right, Mac didn't really need to do much there. I'd like there to be another candidate.
Well, listen, Trevor, by the time Trevor plays, he will have been out for more than a month. So
I know.
If they reschedule that game and he puts up big numbers 4 or 5 weeks in a row into the conference championship game, then we can revisit it. But right now I'm with you. He's out of discussion, and so is ETN. So that's just how it is. All right, Mike versus Pro Football Focus. Who you got this week, Mike?
Marvin Mims, my new favorite player. We had ranked 248 in the country, and we just discussed why, and I don't remember. He was highly ranked, then he dropped out of the 250, and then we saw him in Under Armour, and he got back in the 250. Skinny, 168. But, man, this kid is putting up numbers, so I'm curious what his PFF ranking is. He's been a lifesaver for Oklahoma with the Bridges situation, with Hasselwood injured, with Theo Weiss. Remember those 3 guys are supposed to dominate, and now Marvin Mims is their best receiver.
All right, Marvin Mims, grade on the year, 89.7. Wow. That's first-round pick type grade. Now, here's the interesting thing. He has only played 201 snaps. He's playing about 20, 25 snaps a game. So he's not on the field very much.
He is the man. He had a couple catches in Bedlam that were just tremendous body control. I mean, he high pointed one ball that was just amazing. I mean, it wasn't CeeDee Lamb going full matrix on Sunday for the Cowboys. Did you see that catch?
Yeah, I did. That was awesome.
My God. But this is the next great, Oklahoma wide receiver. I do think still, that Bridges has some issues, and we always thought of him as a guy. I thought of him as a guy who would be perfect in that slot receiver role, and be like a Sterling Shepard, but maybe more a Hollywood Brown. But that hasn't panned out. Hasselwood's had some injuries, and Theo Weiss is a very big, physical, good-looking receiver. Those guys will be drafted, but this Mims kid looks special to me, and I think the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, 5'11", 177 is what he's listed here on.
Yeah, we got him 6'1", 168. So whoever's measuring for us.
Well, yeah, we know sometimes those can be a tad off. And he actually flipped from Stanford, which you rarely see. He made the right decision there. He would be having like 2 targets a game in Stanford's pouring offense.
Smart kid too, smarty pants.
Yeah, he was. In fact, he was committed to Stanford. Means he's a pretty smart kid. So, all right, Mike. Before we wrap up, I kind of want to talk about Thanksgiving, but anything else you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about potential successors for Harbaugh.
Okay, who's on?
That's always fun because your guy Matt Campbell.
Oh, please.
I keep listening to you, and I'm so stupid. This is how stupid I am. Ready? Okay, I'm like, all right, Kansas State has covered 11 of the last 12 against the spread as an underdog against Iowa State. Since 2009, I think they've covered every time against Iowa State, like as a double-digit underdog. So I'm like, oh, they're getting 14 and a half. I'm going in on Kansas State, even though they burned me in the West Virginia game, and they have no quarterback. Iowa State thumps them. Matt Campbell is now in first place in the Big 12, and you still say he's the most overrated coach in college. He's the guy, I think, that Michigan would look to first.
Yeah, the guy who lost to Louisiana week 1, that guy.
Who's coaching Louisiana?
Okay. Yeah, Billy Napier. Didn't he lose to a FCS team last season?
Might have.
I'm trying to remember. That may be. I don't know if they lost or they didn't cover. In my opinion, if they didn't cover, they lost. So because I actually stayed away.
Well, that is 100% true. If you don't cover, you do lose.
I did. Yeah, you did pick Iowa State in our picks.
I know, and then I went against myself, and you know, I'm so stupid. I'm just really dumb.
Okay, well, what about Mario Cristobal?
I was asked this question, and people are gonna laugh at me for saying this. I don't think he'd take the job.
Well, here's the problem. He doesn't make any money.
He doesn't make any money. I get that. He's what, 11 out of 12 or something in the pack?
Right. And I mean, they're supposed to be giving him an extension. Here's the problem. He's in Oregon where if they announce a huge deal for him, everyone's going to get so mad because they're too busy,
right,
decriminalizing cocaine or whatever.
I agree.
So Oregon's got a lot of money, but I don't know if bureaucratically they can pay him what they need to.
No, he's leaving eventually. There's 3 places I think that he would go. And again, I don't have any inside knowledge.
Miami. Let me guess. Miami.
There's 1.
Alabama, number 2.
There's 2.
What about Auburn?
No.
Okay. What's
Texas?
Oh, Texas. Yeah, of course.
Yes. So again, I like him. He's a nice human being, and he will absolutely 1000% lie right to my face anytime, right? Because he's a head coach. So I don't have any inside knowledge as to what programs he would like, but he is from the U. He knows what he could do there recruiting wise. Alabama, whoever succeeds Nick Saban is going to be in really good shape. And Texas has more money than God. The Michigan job is not a great one for him because he doesn't have a tremendous home recruiting base. Now, I guess he doesn't have that at Oregon, but he's got the West Coast. He is a very good recruiter. He would improve recruiting at Michigan. Expectations at Michigan are very, very high. And I don't care if it's Mario Cristobal or someone else, you're not beating Ohio State. And I think he's smart enough to know that. And I don't think the next contract that Michigan gives out is going to be an $8-9 million deal. So they're not going to wow him. They're going to give him more money. But I think Miami because of love, Alabama because you could rule the world, and Texas because it's an easy path to the playoff. And they have so many financial advantages that, even in Oregon with Nike throwing money at him doesn't have.
All right. So who else is on your Michigan list?
This is weird. So I got Joe Brady, of course, right? But, you've told me Joe Brady,
head coach next year.
Joe Brady would laugh at that job and he's going to be an NFL head coach. Yes. Okay. We'll see about that. We'll see if he's a head coach next year.
Didn't we bet on it already?
Well, probably.
Okay. I promise you he's coaching an NFL team next year. Cowboys should have hired.
Throw a name out there at you, right?
Okay.
That you're going to be surprised at. And I don't think it's a good choice at all, but it's a name I've heard linked, and that's David Shaw.
Okay, I think that would be a good hire.
I don't think it would be. And here's the thing, you know, Michigan has hired a guy. Obviously, you know, they like that Harbaugh is a Michigan man, but also that he juggled academics at Stanford, right?
Right.
Michigan deems themselves as an Ivy League level academic program, which they aren't. And the Big Ten deems themselves as an Ivy League level conference. So to get somebody like David Shaw, who has dealt with academics and worked under Harbaugh, and also deems himself as a Rhodes Scholar, would be a great fit for Michigan. I just don't think it would work, but I think he's a guy to keep an eye on for Michigan.
Anybody else on your list?
No,
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a Michigan guy, you know, like the whole Michigan man thing, but
Josh should have left. He wasted. I mean, he should be in the NFL right now.
oh yeah, but I don't know. You know, Stanford's a unique job, and you know, I really do think that he likes it there, and I think he likes to balance, you know, the kids practicing with studying to be an astronaut and all the things that come with that. Like, I think honestly, and I don't know him, the NFL might be a sort of a step down for him in his mind.
Okay. All right. Thanksgiving. What are you doing for Thanksgiving, Mike?
You know how many phone calls I'm going to get after this?
From who? Coach is mad you didn't mention them, so they can get.
No. Just coaches I've talked about.
Uh,
I'm slightly disparaging. I don't know if you noticed that. Thanksgiving. Ready?
yeah.
Okay. I don't have any family. They're pretty much all dead.
Okay.
I got a sister in Massachusetts, and she's nice, and she invited me up there, but I never go. I got a brother in Michigan. I got a brother in California. Barely talk to them. My wife has family local, but doesn't really get along with them, and you know, I'm not a huge fan either. So it's just gonna be me and her chilling, and we ordered Chateaubriand from Omaha Steaks with every side known to man and a huge cheesecake wheel, which I will eat myself. And then, you know, I'll probably go over to my buddies to watch football. And she'll go over her other family up the road.
So a cheesecake wheel, that's like a bunch of different flavors or what?
Yeah, it's really heavy too. I mean, it's like it all came in a mail. I mean, you know, in one of those styrofoam cooler things, and I picked up the first box, and I'm like, what the hell? It felt like a dead body was in it, and it was. She's like, that's the cheesecake wheel. I'm like, wow. So it's like that big, and it's all different slices of fat cheesecake.
Cheesecake's pretty good. Definitely a little bit underrated. I think.
You got your baby girl that you just had a birthday for, which
That's
I yelled at you about, because you were late to tape because it was her birthday, and I said she's how old?
2.
And she'll never remember it, and she'll have other birthdays. Do you have any Greek family in town?
Yeah. My father-in-law and my sister-in-law are here. So.
Okay, so what do the Greeks do for do they slice a goat's throat for Thanksgiving?
So they don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Greece, but so I got to do all the cooking. One of the things I keep hearing about, and I keep seeing from all these hipsters on Twitter, is like, turkey's no good. It's a crap meat. Have you seen this?
Oh yeah.
First of all, if you have a turkey and you eat it and it's too dry and it doesn't taste, you didn't make it right. So you don't know how to make a turkey, number one, because all you do is you go get that stupid injectable thing, you inject it in it, it's delicious. You get some gravy, whatever, if you need it. I don't need it. I eat it plain. I take a piece of turkey, I eat it plain.
If it's dry, though, just dump gravy on it and it's fine.
Right, but then people will be like, oh, that shows it's not good. I say, okay, well, what do you put on your hamburger? You put cheese on it. Does that mean the burger's not good? Okay, so all these people who try to rip turkeys, you guys are losers. Okay, that's number one.
Absolutely.
And they're like, oh, let's switch it up. Thanksgiving's once a year. What's there to switch up? Number two, I've seen 2 articles, one from the failing New York Times and one from the failing LA Times saying, don't have pie Don't have pie this year. Tired of having pie for Thanksgiving? Here's some other recipes. Who's tired of pie?
Nobody.
It's once a year. You don't need to change it up. Now, if you want to have, and this is what I always say, I've given this rant several times. If you want to have the staples, you want to have a turkey, mashed potatoes, whatever that sweet potato thing is with the marshmallows, some green beans, whatever else you deem the staples, pumpkin pie. Then you want to build on top of it. Go ahead, keep building. Don't eliminate pumpkin pie to have some cockamamie, oh, this is a pecan cake that's supposed to be better. Okay. My internet connection's unstable. Did you get that? I just got an alert. Look at the Illuminati's trying to shut me down.
You're in an anti-turkey rant, and Big Turkey is like actually you're not in you're in a pro turkey. So Big, what would it be?
Whoever's trying to get rid of turkey and pie.
Big Hipster is trying to shut you down with your internet connection. But the only reason we're doing it differently is because my wife doesn't want to make a turkey, and I am not going to do it. And she saw Chateaubriand on an episode of Mom. Oh, this thing's back in my face. An episode of Mom, and she had a craving for it. But I agree with you. Traditionally, get a big-ass turkey, get multiple pies, apple, pumpkin, and obviously you can do blueberry or whatever else you like. As much mashed potatoes as you can fit in a human being.
Yes.
And you're good. Stuffing is good too.
Oh yeah, stuffing people like.
Yeah.
Just if you want to start with that and build on it, fine. But don't start eliminating staples because I thought we'd switch it up this year. Well,
are you gonna listen to skinny hipsters or two fat guys?
Right, exactly. Listen to the fat people.
Right.
And prepare things like there's a lot of things I don't like. I've been accused of being picky because I don't like certain things. I will, if I know, like I don't like potato salad. If I'm having a bunch of people over for like a barbecue, I make potato salad because I know other people like it. You need to think about other people, not yourself, when you're preparing a big meal. It's just like red velvet cake. A lot of people, oh, I love red velvet. Okay. Well, I used to cover hockey and they would put out 15 slices of chocolate, 15 vanilla, 15 red velvet. If I got there late, there would be none of the other ones left and there'd be 13 and a half red velvets left because nobody actually wants it.
I would eat them all. I love red velvet.
So anyway.
That sounds like a great hockey game, by the way.
Oh yeah. That was one of the perks of the hockey, the media meal every night.
Wow.
I've been ridiculed in the recruiting industry for covering hockey. But guess what? I'm a well-rounded individual, Mike. I covered everything. So
yeah, I know you got these stories about volleyball and this other crap, but
rodeo.
Thanksgiving is about football. It's about turkey or whatever you like to eat. It's not about being a hipster. It's not about changing it up. It's not about going against tradition. I don't know. I was waiting for something to change nationally when it comes to Thanksgiving, just because of the way the world's working in 2020, that we would have to change the name of Thanksgiving, or hasn't happened, but it will eventually. So enjoy your Thanksgiving. It's probably gonna be one of the last ones you have, and eat pie and eat turkey.
All right.
Because it's gone. Thanksgiving is like on the hot seat, right?
I did see that today, actually, that it's on the hot seat.
It's on the hot seat.
I had a spirited debate with Lackford about it, actually, who was on the anti-Thanksgiving rant, which I said, I'm pro Thanksgiving. We can reflect on some other things, but I mean, anyway, I don't want to go down too far down the rabbit hole and get in trouble. So that wraps it up for us. Please leave us a review. I think we did get another review because we're at 119 ratings on the commitment issues feed. So
what did it say? Was it good?
I think somebody just hit the 5 stars and they didn't actually leave a review. So please leave a review.
Might have been me.
A rating. It might have been you that did it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Please do that. Subscribe to our YouTube, and we'll be back. We got picks coming later in the week on probably going to come out on Thursday, and then another podcast next week. All right. Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right.